Flashbulb memories, a term coined in the 1970s by U.S. psychologists Roger Brown and James Kulik, are vivid memories centered around highly emotional or shocking events. They can be public events like assassinations, terrorist attacks, natural disasters, major political events. They can also be personal events like receiving news of a loved one's death. These events are intense. They have huge impact on society. People remember where they were, who they were with, and they remember this for the rest of their lives. So let's look at the top 10 flashbulb memories in American history. Let's start with number 10. So with number 10, we're including a rare positive flashbulb memory. This is the only one on the list. We have the Apollo 11 moon landing. The moon landing occurred on July 20th, 1969, when NASA's Apollo 11 mission successfully landed astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin on the lunar surface. Armstrong became the first human to walk on the moon, famously declaring, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." This historic event marked a significant achievement in space exploration and captivated the world, and is often remembered vividly as a moment of national pride and achievement. Number 9. The shocking death of Elvis Presley. Elvis was the guy at the time, an absolute star in the rock and roll scene. He was an American icon, just an absolute legend and loved by all. He died on August 16, 1977 due to heart failure, and it was later linked to his extensive use of prescription drugs. While his heart failed him, he broke a lot of hearts that day that he passed, gone way too soon, and absolutely shocking news to all. Number 8. Now, in keeping with the musical talent and extremely loved across the land, number 8 flashbulb moment is the sudden death of the talented Mr. John Lennon, the former Beatle. He was shot and killed on December 8, 1980, outside his apartment building, the Dakota, in New York City. His assassin, Mark David Chapman, a disturbed fan. He approached Lennon for an autograph earlier that day before returning later to commit the murder. Lennon's death knocked the wind out of the entire world, marking a tragic end to the life of an iconic figure in music and peace activism. Many people found out while watching Monday Night Football. The great Howard Cosell shared the news during the game, one of the most shocking moments in American history. And that brings us to number 7. So this one is a little bit different than the others on the list, in that it was a slow play, but it still had extreme impact, and it has to be on the list. I'm talking about the COVID-19 pandemic. Has there ever been a more crazy time in history? Global lockdowns, extreme fear and uncertainty, travel restrictions, and significant disruptions to daily life and economies. I think we're still trying to measure the impact of this thing in 2024. It's something that nobody will ever forget. Had a huge impact. Number 6. For our next one, some of the saddest news I've ever heard. The gut punch of hearing this news was intense. Number 6 is the death of basketball star Kobe Bryant. On January 26, 2020, he died in a helicopter crash in California, along with his daughter Gianna and 7 others. The helicopter went down in foggy conditions en route to a youth basketball game, leading to the deaths of all 9 passengers. The accident shocked the sports world and fans globally, resulting in an outpouring of grief and tributes to Bryant's legacy. Kobe was a 5-time NBA champion and one of the greatest basketball players of all time. He is widely admired for his achievements on and off the court. He is extremely missed by all. Number 5. All right, we've arrived at the top 5, but we have more bad news. But for this one, we go way back in time, a time when nobody watching this right now was around for. We have the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. April 14th, 1885 at Ford's Theater, just days after the end of the Civil War. Lincoln was just trying to enjoy his evening, taking in a play, Our American Cousin, and he gets shot in the back of the head by John Wilkes Booth. Talk about a cheap shot. His death shocked the nation, plunging a country already strained by war into deeper mourning. Lincoln held on for a while, dying the following morning, April 15th, 1865. It was an unbelievable turn of events, and one that had major impact and shocked. Number 4. This next event has to make the list. It was so shocking, so we're putting it on number 4. It's the Challenger space shuttle disaster on January 28, 1986. Tragically, the shuttle disintegrated 73 seconds after launch, resulting in the deaths of all 7 crew members. One of the crew members was Krista McCulthy, who was going to be the first teacher to be in space. She was part of President Reagan's Teachers in Space program, and was looking forward to teaching a couple lessons from space. The disaster was caused by failure of an O-ring seal in one of the solid rocket boosters, which allowed hot gases to escape and damage the external fuel tank. It was just an absolutely devastating event for everyone and shocked Americans when it happened, and it goes down as one of the saddest days in American history. Number 3. Another older event is next, but it's definitely worth being on the West, and that's the attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941. Talk about an all-time sucker punch. Japan tried to quickly weaken the U.S. naval strength and launched a surprise air attack on Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, attacking early in the morning while everyone was unprepared and killing 2,403 people. And it was devastating and shocking. The attack also destroyed 5 battleships and almost 200 planes. But little did they know that although they knocked us down briefly, all it did was awaken a sleeping giant, as noted by Japanese Admiral Yamamoto in his diary. In hearing the news, Americans were horrified but filled with resolve. President Franklin D. Roosevelt the next day addressed Congress and asked them to declare war against Japan, which was easily passed with only one dissenting vote. Shock and anger united the country, as Pearl Harbor goes down as one of the most amazing stories in American history. Number 2. This one is tragic and provided a very vivid memory for many Americans. Number 2 is the assassination of John F. Kennedy on November 22, 1963. This event took place in Dallas, Texas, while riding a motorcade through Dealey Plaza. He was fatally shot by Lee Harvey Oswald, who was located on the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository building. It's a moment where time almost stood still, with vivid pictures of the happy day riding in an open convertible, as it had stopped raining earlier in the day. Excited people lining the streets hoping to see the president. Then in a shocking moment, everything changed. It was hard to believe. This event stunned the nation, waves of grief over the land. Many people found out about it through CBS News with Walter Cronkite. This event is definitely one of the most memorable moments in American history. Number 1. It is no surprise to most of you, I'm sure, our number 1 flashbulb moment in American history is the September 11th, 2001 terrorist attacks. Nothing can be more shocking than news events that played out at the World Trade Center in our great city of New York. The visuals that we have of the event, the videos, the stories are just unbelievable. And the many storylines that played out, it changed the course of our entire country. You remember where you were that day, and you can recall the heaviness of it. You really made people come together despite differences. I'll never forget the baseball game at Yankee Stadium when President George W. Bush came out to throw out the first pitch. The desire of people to come together forget who was special. That was actually the flashbulb moment in itself. Without a doubt, 9/11 was the most shocking and one of the most devastating days in American history. I don't think there will ever be a more shocking flashbulb memory. I know the future is saying, hold my beer, but it's hard to imagine. And that does it for our list. Many runner-up events throughout our history that could have been on the list. The assassination of Martin Luther King, the Oklahoma City bombing, the Columbine High School massacre, the election of Barack Obama, the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. What flashbulb moments would you include? Please consider subscribing, and thanks for watching.